Hello, 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 and welcome to Elevate Your Life and the Spanglish World Networks on Zingo TV, channels 250 and 251. You can download the Zingo TV app on your respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. And while you download, make sure to rate and leave us a stellar comment. This app is actually free. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and on all smart TVs 2016 and forward, if you will. I am Dr. Michelle Odette Green, your host for the show, and you know this show is all about empowering you to reach new heights of success and more fulfillment in your life. And so today we have a wonderful guest. We have Crystal with us today. Hello, Crystal. How are you
Good
doing?
afternoon, Dr. Green. I am fantastic. Thank you for this is
Awesome.
such a great opportunity and I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I am so happy to have you here. Today, our show is all about stepping into your power. And before we jump into it, I want to tell you a little bit more about Crystal. Crystal, it is truly my pleasure again to have you on this show today. Folks, Crystal is a coach and she is an award winning author of a top selling book, Reclaim Your Power The Journey Back to Yourself. Her book is so wonderful, and we'll get into the book in a little bit. She's also a speaker. She hosts seminars for Fortune 500 companies. She's also the creator of the ELLA model, the Ella model. You can tell us a little bit about that after I introduce you. And she speaks at conferences all over the world. Crystal empowers professionals to discover their authentic voice, their identity, and overcome obstacles, to release stagnation in their life, if you will, and to help them reclaim their power. Thus, her book, Yes, Yes, Yes. Through a tailored approach, she will help you realign your passion with your spirit as she guides you to discover your purpose and live life more abundantly. I am just so happy to have her here, audience. She has a wealth of experience and achievements in leadership. And Crystal is deeply committed to serving and assisting others in unlocking their full potential and becoming the very best versions of themselves. Yes, Crystal, again, I am so happy that you're here with us. And is there anything that you would like to add to that introduction?
You know what? That was, I was blown away just listening to it. I'm like, is that me? I'm just humbled and grateful that, the experiences that we have has led me here. So no, there's nothing more I would like to add to that other than, just offering what I've learned and hoping that it resonates with your viewers.
Yes, and I'm sure it will. It resonates with me and the individuals that typically tune into the show. They're looking to elevate their lives. They want to be more, do more, and have more. And so that's why I, again, wanted you on this show when I saw that you wrote this book. I said, oh, that is so powerful. And then I went on a quest to like look you up. I'm like, okay, we're connected here, we're connected there.
Yeah,
So we have
it was
a
all
few
in divine
connections.
order.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
and like minds, right? Like minds wanting to help people to fulfill their life's missions. And so I'm so again grateful that you are here. And I want to jump into some questions
Yes.
about your book and about what you are doing. So with that, I'm going to ask you maybe about 10 questions if I can. I tend to get a little winded, Lord have mercy, wordy when I'm responding. So I'm going to try to keep my commentary short. And so, with that in mind, what does stepping into your power mean to you?
That's such an impactful, it's such a it's so much to unpack with that question, right? But one thing it really means to me is being able to realize and leverage our strengths and our capabilities, right? we have to go through a process of really being able to understand what our power is. But once we're able to do that, we can accept responsibility for our choices. We're empowered to make decisions, and it it just gives us a feeling of empowerment to where we can create and control our lives on our terms and in alignment with our purpose.
Yes, so good, so good. Viewers, get your paper and get your pens because you definitely want to take notes. I say what you write, you invite. And you just heard a few great things that Crystal said. One is really taking responsibility. I believe in taking responsibility for your life. And when you take responsibility for your life, a whole new world would open up to you. And then you can go ahead and start doing the self awareness, start getting in tune to what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, so that you can work on yourself. You know, Crystal, I like to tell people to accept themselves unconditionally while they are working on themselves. And so,
Absolutely.
with that in mind, my next question to you is, what are some common obstacles that prevent people from stepping into their power?
That's a great question. As I reflect back on my own life, when I was, seeking to tap into my own potential, some of those obstacles, we get caught up in what people outside of us are doing, right? Outside of our lives are doing, what's projected onto us, how we compare ourselves to others. And we're seeking external validations. And those become obstacles within ourselves because we lose sight of who we really are. And we're not really able to grasp and hold on to the true essence of us. And it becomes a disconnect. So some of those obstacles is, again, just comparing ourselves to other people. It's not about just what you can acquire. It's not about what you look like, what you wear, but we find ourselves at different periods of our lives comparing and saying this is where I should be, and we really miss the message on the journey of developing that true our potential, our true purpose, identifying that and holding on to that. So we create a lot of obstacles just by what's around us, our environments, and those are things we have to break through from.
So good, so good. You know, I feel like comparison is truly a thief.
It
It
is.
robs you of your joy. It robs you of so many things. And so I like to tell people, when you want to compare yourself to anybody, you do it from an inspirational perspective. So if you're
Absolutely.
looking at what somebody has done, just know that you can do it too. So just be inspired by what they've done. And for comparison, compare yourself to yourself for
That's right.
progress. And so I love to tell people that. So that is so good. Also, looking for that external validation, needing someone else to approve you or affirm you. I fell into that trap.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
for a long time, I was miserable because I was
Mhm.
looking for somebody else to say, yes, do that, or no, don't do that, so on and so forth. And I was, living out somebody else's life and their dreams
Right.
based on what their fears were, right? Because a lot of times when people tell you don't do this or don't do that, it's because they're fearful of doing it. So sometimes, yes, they're trying to protect you.
Mhm.
They're trying to uh, make it where they want you to play safe. However, that's you living through somebody else's lens and not your own. And so thank you for
That's
that. And
true.
so you wrote a lot in this book. This book is so good to me. I haven't gotten through the whole book, but let me tell you, I have picked up some gems in this book, and I've been going through it intently with my marker, with my pen, and
Wonderful.
my pencil. There is one thing that you said in here, and I want to find it. Oh, the portion on tying up your loose ends. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. So on page
Yeah.
starting on page 16 and on page 17. Oh my goodness. That chapter is so good to me. It's so so good. So let me ask you this question, but I may go back to this book because there's a portion that I have highlighted in here
Mhm.
to talk about. Sometimes when you are seeking change, it could be that you are running away from painful experiences, or you have simply outgrown your environment. like in my case, meaning you, like in your case. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever felt you weren't living to your fullest potential, and what held you back?
Yes, I have lived that a couple cycles in my life, right? And one of the biggest thing previously, what we said is we're living out other people's expectations, and we're trapped into this fear-based thinking because our environments are showing us a different reflection. They're showing us of what and and that could be just something as simple. And I don't mean literally physically in your environment, but it could be your household. If you don't have the example of what you desire to be, that could become an obstacle for you. If you don't have, so for my own personal experience, I remember, in high school where, I always had big dreams. I wanted to, be astronaut. I always had these big dreams, but coming up in certain environments, you know, that's that's wishful thinking. That's just your imagination. But that's how we create the life. We have to go into our imagination. It's a thing where for me, I always strive to achieve high goals,
Mhm,
but in those moments where I'm comparing or competing,
mhm,
always coming in that second is where I remember a time in high school. It's like I was
mhm,
going out for an elite club and I was in front of the faculty and having and giving a speech, and I became the runner up. So it was always the runner up.
mhm,
So then I would always wonder, well, why can't I break through?
mhm,
Because I was trapped in that comparison. I was
mhm,
trapped in that. That became my obstacle. But then as I began to continue to live and grow and see things and experience things, I was able to break through that. And I can share a story where that actually happened. But I'll let you. I don't want to kind of just jump ahead, but
So I actually want to hear that story
okay.
because listening to you talk about being the runner up. To me, being the runner up is a good thing from two perspectives. One is that you, in those cases, probably were competing with so many people. And yes, you may not have been the first place, but the runner up means that you actually that you were seen, and coming in second is still a big deal. It's
It's a
not.
big
It's
deal, but here's another obstacle: perfectionism. I had to
perfectionism.
overcome perfectionism.
Yes. So
Every
here's my other point, and then I want you to tell the story that it also helped you learn lessons, because
Yes,
if we're always first, then we don't know how to come in second. And then that muscle, that resilience muscle, is not being built because we think we're always supposed to win. When
right.
in actuality, when you lose, it helps you learn as well. And so that's what I wanted to bring up. And I want to hear that story. And you can go ahead and talk about, too, the perfectionist piece, because that is a thing that can hold us back.
It can definitely hold us back. And that's one of the major obstacles that kept me from realizing my true potential. It kept me from really learning the lessons and the value of being among the greatest minds, but not having to be number one. So
Mhm,
there was a lot of in my limited thinking, there was a lot of obstacles that I created, and it was
mhm,
rooted in perfectionism. Perfectionism. I believed that I had to be perfect in everything that I did the first
mhm,
time. Now, one would ask yourself, well, where did this thought process come from?
mhm,
Well, it develops over time with different experiences. But my breakthrough was I've always been one who loved adventure, extreme sports. I remember going skydiving. And you hear the chatter around you. You shouldn't do that because it's dangerous and we don't really do that and all the things. But it was the moment where I was standing on the edge of the plane, looking out over Earth. And as we flipped out, there was a free fall. And as we began to coast, there was such a sense of peace that came over me, and a voice that resonated so loudly. And it says, everything you need is within you. Everything that you need. You don't have to compete. You don't have to be perfect, because you're perfect because I created you. That was such a breakthrough for me. So I was able to release that need to be perfect in everything. Even though we strive for excellence and we do things in excellence, I didn't have to be perfect, because I was perfect in the state that I was in.
Yes, yes, so good. So, so good. I just love that. I love that you got that message and you listen, because it's in those moments when we get still enough to listen. And I know you were skydiving, but what a beautiful thing, right? You're in the air and you get the message that everything is within you, and you had your breakthrough moment. So
Absolutely.
good. So, so good. And so I like to talk about also other things that can hold people back:
Mhm.
hesitation, procrastination, fear of failure, fear of
Here.
success, imposter syndrome,
Right,
so
right.
on and so forth. Those are other things. So what are some other internal roadblocks that might prevent someone from stepping into their power?
I'm glad you mentioned fear. Fear it either will propel you forward or it will hold you hostage.
Yeah.
And most of us have unrealized dreams because fear has held us hostage for so long.
Hmm.
And it's so detrimental to our mental, emotional, and spiritual growth, because anything that is not growing is dying.
Yeah.
And, self sabotage, because of that fear of success or that fear of judgment or that comparing, we set these goals that may not be aligned with our purpose, and then we sabotage it.
Hmm.
And I'm guilty of that. There has been some struggles in my life, and say, okay, well, now I'm going to head and start this process, but start going to the gym. And the moment you find that consistency, you wait for the slightest thing to distract you, and now you're on to the next, and now you just interrupted your regimen. But that's because it's self sabotage.
Hmm.
That's a subconscious thought that everything you try to create, you're going to sabotage because you're associating it with a bad experience that you've already had.
Hmm. Yep. So let's talk about the subconscious mind a little bit, because I love talking about the subconscious mind, because when we are younger, really our identity is really being formed when
Hmm.
we're younger, and we're like a sponge, and we're just soaking up everything around us, from what we see, what we
That's right.
hear from our parents, teachers, siblings, so on and so forth. And so, talk to us about your perspective when it comes to the subconscious mind and how it is actually running our lives right this moment.
It really is. And to understand that, again, when we have our moments of reflection, this is what I think in the book I talk about, self reflection. It's not just who we see in terms of the physical, it's who we are inside. It's those thoughts, those belief systems, those things that are driving our actions. It's that subconscious thinking that either is going to tell you that you're worthy or you're not. And when we are able to eliminate that mind chatter or the self defeating thoughts, we can really hear the true, I call it spirit, that is really leading us. And again, in some of my meditations, as I was on this journey of writing this book, I had to be reminded that my validation comes from the Most High, no one outside of me. So there's nothing I needed to prove to anyone. But there's a process to uncover and to just really pull back all the layers to really have that mental mindset shift. Our
Hmm.
subconscious mind, and it's the things that we tell ourselves,
Hmm.
whether you're not good enough, but you are good enough. And what are we associating those thoughts to? Prior experiences, childhood wounds, seeing what's on social media and why we're not there. I used to race against time all the time, never
Mhm.
feeling like I had enough time because subconsciously I felt like I was supposed to be at a certain place in my life.
Mhm.
When the truth was, I was right where I was supposed to be because there were lessons I needed to learn in order to prepare me for where I wanted to be.
Yes.
Hmm.
So good, so good, so good. So, what are some exercises or practices that you use to connect with your inner power and your confidence that you can share with us?
Well, one of my favorite, of course, is journaling. You know, as a writer, it's my first love. Journaling, just to really able to get those thoughts out on paper. And then, you know, in a couple days, you can go back and see where your mindset was, how you were feeling. And you can sort through that and really pull your power out of that. It'll remind you, okay, and it'll help you find your triggers. It'll remind you that, okay, this was a mental space that I was in, and I don't want to be there anymore. So
Mhm.
journaling is very effective. It's something that I love, and of course, I meditate as well. I meditate regularly, sometimes throughout the day, and that's just to help to get me centered. Because sometimes, you know, we'll go throughout our day and we have these triggers, and our emotions are all out of sorts. And meditation will help me come center again, where I can think clearly and see things not from an emotional perspective. So meditation, visualization is very effective. I listen to a lot of motivational speaking, and one of my mantras is dwell in the end. Dwell in the
Mm.
end, visualize the end of that which you are desiring to create. And it allows you this internal process, this subconscious mind, and takes you on the journey where you can see that it is possible. It is something
Yes.
that you can do. You are worthy of achieving that. So I do that dwell in the end mantra while I'm visualizing.
So good, so good. So you listed exercises that we can do. Journaling is one. And I love self reflection. Self
Yes.
reflection for me is everything because you can look at okay, what went right for the day, what didn't go right, and what could I have done better, so on and so forth. And then you mentioned meditation. Tell us, how do you meditate? In what ways do you meditate?
Well, you know, I like to connect with all the elements. You know, the water element, you know, to allow those emotions to flow. I, you know, like to connect with the earth element for grounding and getting centered. And then just really bringing everything focused with that fire element, the wind element. And once I'm able to connect with all those elements, whether it's, you know, outside in nature, whether it's here in my home where I have a glass of water sitting next to me, you know, I just kind of really sit still, sit as still as I can, get centered, and just allow whatever feeling. I pay attention to what I'm feeling. Um, Sometimes I do guided meditation. Sometimes I do mindfulness. It's a lot of different techniques to meditation, but I just like to sit quiet, so I can really hear, not listen so much listen to my thoughts, but listen to my spirit, and then
Yes.
release and gain clarity.
So good, so good. And then you mentioned visualization, and I love the dwell in the end. So see yourself achieving your goals. So look at what the end result you're seeking is. That's the best way I know how to say that. So
Absolutely.
just dwell in the end. I love, love, love that. And so, how can we navigate challenging situations while staying true to our values and power?
Well, we have to remember who we are in terms of staying centered, our true purpose. What's our ultimate goal for what we're doing?
Mhm.
And when we can remember that and keeping focus with that, we can view obstacles as opportunities. We can release the victim mindset, the victim consciousness. And so if I'm observing a situation from that perspective, I can say, okay, here's some things that I need to learn. I need to
Mhm.
pay closer attention to. and I'm not sacrificing my values. I'm not getting out of alignment with my purpose and my message, but I'm able to embrace the differences and the change and the growth that is presented to me.
Yes, yes, so good, so good, so good. So, you talk about the victim mindset, and I like to remind people that the way that you can determine if you are in that mindset is if you are blaming, if you find yourself really blaming others, if you are complaining a lot,
Mhm.
or if you are even shaming people.
Right.
So just being able to identify, okay, am I blaming other people? If I'm blaming other people, that means I'm not taking responsibility. And if I'm shaming other people, that is, to me, I'm shaming myself, because when you judge others, you're really judging yourself. And am I complaining? And the
Right.
complaining, again, is a roadblock. It keeps you stuck. And so when you said look at obstacles as opportunities, then you can look at, okay, what didn't work?
Hmm.
Why didn't it work? And then just go back to the drawing board. To It's just a detour in the process. And so when you hit a detour, you don't stop. You
Stop.
keep going until you get
Right.
to your destination. And so with that also in mind, as far as the opportunity, seeing the obstacle as an opportunity, you can always ask that question, okay, how can I keep moving forward? Because as long as you are asking yourself, how can I keep moving forward? Your mind and your brain is going to do the work to seek out what you need to do, the evidence to show you, okay, no, go this way or go that way. And
Right.
so, so, so good.
If I
Thank you.
can just
Thank you.
add
Thank
to
you.
that, if I could just
Yes,
add to that, also, when I'm faced with these obstacles and it's a reoccurring themes like having that week where everything just breaks out. I take a moment to pause
yes,
and step back and say, okay, what is it that I need to know in this moment?
yes,
What do I need to do? And who
yes,
do I need to be in order to overcome this or learn the lesson that is before me? Because
yes,
there is something that is delaying the outcome
yes.
that needs to
Woo.
prepare me for the outcome. So I
Yes,
practice the pause. I have to take a
yes.
step back instead of reacting. Yes.
Woo, that was so good. Thank you so much for adding that. And
Yes.
the last point that I want to make to your overall response to that question is remembering the ultimate goal. So if you keep your eye on the prize, you will reach the ultimate goal. And so that was so, so good. And so, what are some of the biggest rewards of stepping into your power?
Freedom. You are free to live your life on your terms in alignment with your purpose. It brings you freedom. And you're able to, it's a mindset shift where now you're eager and you're excited to help others. You move in a serving role. It gives you such a sense of peace, humility, and joy. So when you're really able to understand your power, step in it and walk in it, you find your voice. You can speak
Yes.
your truth and you can be more impactful with those who encounter you.
Yes. Yes. So good. That is so good. And I want to say, for many years,
Mhm.
I really supported other people's dreams and goals. And I kind of just put mine on the back burner, just put it on the shelf as if my dreams and goals was an object, right? And from time to time I would take it off the shelf and start thinking I'm living out my dreams. And then somebody else would have a dream they wanted me to
Mhm.
support. So I put mine back on the shelf and started supporting their dream. And so for about 10 years, I
Yes.
did that. And then one day I just drew a line in the sand and I said, no more. I want to live out my dreams. I want to have my voice be heard because I have so much inside of me where I want to be able to help
Yes.
people to develop to their highest potential. Some people, they have obstacles where they can't do certain things, but that
Right.
doesn't mean that they can't do the thing that they're put on this earth to do. So
That's
my
right.
goal is to help them to bring that out of them so that they can contribute whatever value they have to contribute to this world, because all of us have something to contribute to this world. And so I found my voice, I stepped into my power, and I'm living it out as I'm doing this show right now. This is something that I've
Beautiful.
always wanted to do for many, many years. And I started out back in the 1990s to do it, and it fell by the wayside. And now here I am, almost what, 20 something years later, 25, almost, no, 23 years later, right? And now I'm doing what I really, really desire to do. And it's so fulfilling because, again, we're helping so many people.
That's right.
This show is broadcast out to over 130 countries. So
Wow.
think about the impact that we are having on individuals' lives. Millions of people get to see this broadcast through Zingo TV. And so I'm so grateful for that. So I just had to say that because when you
Yes.
talk about freedom, just having the freedom, yes, it feels so good to have that mental liberation as well,
That's right.
because we live in our heads. And so having that mental liberation is so powerful. And then you talked about being in alignment. Being in alignment, I call it, as one of my friends love to say, being in alignment with your assignment.
There you
And
go. That's
yes,
right.
yes, yes, and your purpose. And so, and then being able to serve, because that's what we are doing here today. We're serving. This is not a paid program, or we're not getting paid to do this, but we're serving the greater good. And so I'm so happy that you outlined those biggest rewards and being at peace, peace
Mhm.
within. Peace is such a wonderful thing, that peace that passes all understanding. When things around you are falling down, but you know you are living in alignment with your assignment, you have peace. You have peace
Yes.
again that people don't understand. It's like, how can you be so calm? You got this calm confidence. Where did that come from? That's because you're living in your power. And
That's
so,
right.
with that in mind, how can we use our power to really make a positive impact on the world at large?
We have to remember that our experience is not ours alone. Everything that we experience in this life, we learn the lessons, but it's there for us to help others on our journey. So
Yes.
when we understand that, then we do move into that energy of service. So we
Mhm.
can connect and we can collaborate with people. We can help them realize their dreams by offering some, our anecdotes from our experiences. We can offer some ideas that will support them.
Yes.
And there's a whole world out there, and like you stated, your show is being aired all over the world, and that's where our impact can come into play.
Mhm.
We're impacting those who we don't even know.
Yes.
One of my mentors have always said that no matter what you do in this life, someone is always watching you. They're learning from you, whether you know it or not. So, understanding your power and walking in your power, you will then be able to navigate and say, okay, what is the best that I can do that's going to help someone in their life?
Mhm.
You move with intentionality.
Yes, yes, so good. Intentionality. Okay, come on now. We got to talk about intention. So, what does that mean to you when you say move with intentionality? What does that mean?
Well, here again, just kind of making reference to my mentor again, one of his favorite lines is intent over impact. And when I first heard that, it resonated with me so much so to where I had to be mindful as to how I connect with people, how people experience me. Because I can control my intentions, but I can't control the impact that someone
Mhm.
else will experience. And but here again, it goes back to being in alignment. I can project the best outcome for that. It's up to the individual to receive it, but I can put the best foot forward by being intentional about the things that I believe, the things that I stand for, and the things that I want to create. I can be intentional
Yes,
about that.
so good. Now, I want you to explore this with me. I was listening to someone earlier, And I have resonated with this quote by Maya Angelou for many years. And today I stepped back to reflect on it at a different perspective. So the quote is that people do not remember what you did, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yes.
So what does that quote mean to you?
Well, from my experience, just kind of growing up, this was a part of my journey where I had to learn and truly understand my power and the impact I was making on people, the lasting impression I was making on people. And it wasn't always a good one because, being very straightforward, saying the first thing on my mind, and being in that defensive mode can cause others to be defensive.
Mhm,
So what that really means is we meet people all the time, we hear things all the time. But if it
mhm,
doesn't resonate with us, we're not going to remember it.
right.
But if I encounter you and that experience caused me to either question myself, make me feel bad about myself, or empower me or inspire me, I'm going to remember that. And I'm going to remember the person who did that for me.
Mhm,
We are all connected. And one thing my mother says is, you can't live in this world alone, and everything you do is going to affect someone else.
mhm.
So that quote there is very powerful, and it's something that we should all remember. And we want to treat each other as how we want to be treated.
Yes, yes. My mother, she loves to say that be kind to people because we are all going through something, and you don't know what the next person is going through. Just because a person may be smiling, which is good for you. Smiling is
Right.
really, really good. It helps release those neurochemicals, those feel good neurochemicals. And some people are smiling just to get through the
Just
day,
to get through today. Yes.
just to get through the day. So thank you, thank you, thank you for chiming in on that because I was thinking about it and I was like, okay. So one perspective I had was when we feel anything, it's based on what's already inside of us. And so
Yes.
I was thinking about that and how you mentioned, a person resonating with you based on, you know, how they make you feel, the words that
Mhm.
they speak, the energy that they give off, or what have you, how you feel around them. And I believe that it's within us already. And
Yeah.
so I just wanted to explore that just a little bit, but I don't want to go too far down that road because I want to ask you more about your book here. Tell us a little bit about your book. Give us at least three key takeaways from your book.
Reclaim Your Power, The Journey Back to Self is a testament to my own personal transformation. This book will teach you about forgiveness. Uh, you'll feel renewed, and you will become empowered to live your truth, find your voice, speak your truth, and get alignment with your purpose. This book, writing this book, has challenged me in many ways. It has taken me, for the time that it's taken me to write the book,
Mhm,
particularly in the areas of forgiveness. And it was a challenge because I had to see myself. I
mhm,
had to look in the mirror and do a deep dive into my own personal reflection. I had to do a self assessment of me.
mhm,
And it wasn't always pretty,
mhm.
but it was necessary.
Yes.
And I was open to it because I was ready for the change, because I knew the assignment that I was given. And I couldn't, and as I was going through this process, the Most High said to me, "You're not going to complete the chapter until you address this issue." So everything
Mm.
that I've written in this book, I personally went through. This was my testament to my personal transformation.
Wow. So impactful, so powerful. So going through dealing with the painful things, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have water with me, but dealing with the painful things, how did you navigate that? And did you need to get support?
One thing I had to be reminded of is that we're not our trauma. Sometimes
Mhm.
we wear that as a badge of honor because people do it for different reasons. And it's not to minimize anybody's trauma, but we have to remember that we're more than our trauma.
Mhm.
And having to revisit some of those things, I had to forgive myself for my role in that experience. And that allowed me to release and disconnect myself from that experience and observe it versus being a victim of it. And that took away the pain. That
Mhm.
empowered me to say, now I understand. And I forgive myself for it.
Yes. 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 That's so good. And forgiveness is definitely for us.
It's
You
for us.
know, regardless to if it was something that we did or something that someone did to us. Forgiving ourselves for doing whatever we did or forgiving the other person is releasing us again back to that freedom. It gives you that personal freedom. And what I have found is that people want to hold on to the past or the pain because they do have a secondary gain. So
Hmm.
a lot of people don't realize that they're staying stuck in that because they're getting a benefit from it.
Right.
That if they can get the sympathy of others, then it serves them to stay stuck in that area. But when you liberate yourself and you do the work like you did, in order to even write this book to help so many people, again, it goes back to you liberate yourself and you free yourself. You know, a lot of that holding on to what John did and what Joe did and what Mary and Jane did, it's holding you down. It's holding you down. Think about you with a heavy backpack
Right.
on, with rocks in your backpack, and you're trying to climb up a mountain where you don't even have to have those that backpack on, number one, or the
Right.
rocks in the backpack. Or think about a ball and a chain where you're trying to go but the ball and chain is holding you back. That's because you're harboring unforgiveness, or some of those things that we talked about earlier in terms of what are those things that can keep you from moving forward. Perfectionism is one that you talked about. And so I'm going to turn it over to you to tell our viewers how they can get in contact with you. I also want you to tell our viewers how they can purchase your book. I also want you to tell our viewers any parting words in terms of how they can elevate their life. The show is yours.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Reclaim Your Power, The Journey Back to Self is available on Amazon. You can go to www.ireclaimedmypower.com. That's ireclaimedmypower.com. That is the book website. It'll give you all the information about the book, about me. You can purchase it from there through the link on Amazon. Um, Also, I would invite your viewers to go to giftfromcrystal.com, www.giftfromcrystal.com, and you can download an excerpt from the book for your reading pleasure. And it is a very powerful one on forgiveness. So I do encourage you to visit giftfromcrystal.com to download your excerpt. And one thing I would like to share regarding what we've talked about and forgiveness in particular, since we're kind of ended on that note. I recall a couple months ago, about 2 o'clock in the morning, the Most High downloaded in my spirit, and I want to share this with your viewers. And it's a mantra that I say: I forgive myself for giving too much of myself and not having enough to pour into myself.
Mm.
I am grateful now that I have reclaimed my power and I give from my overflow. You spoke earlier about uh, putting our dreams on hold for others. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with supporting others, but each of us have a journey in this life and a purpose in this life that is for us. And we have to pour into ourselves. And when we deplete ourselves of that, we have nothing left. So
Mhm.
that prayer, that mantra is really reclaiming your power. It's making you first so you can give from your overflow.
Yes, so good. So, so good. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. That was so good. And so I just want to encourage viewers for you to go and purchase her book, Reclaim Your Power. And I always like to mention my book as well. So I do have a
I
book, Be
love it.
Successful for Life. You can also purchase that book at Amazon, or you can go to my website and purchase the book. Be sure to go to giftfromcrystal.com so that you can get that forgiveness gift. Please go and do that. And so, Crystal, I'm so again glad that you were here. You have provided so many gems for our viewers, and I encourage you guys to go back and look at the replay of this and have your friends and your family look at it. It will be on YouTube and as well as Facebook. It will stay there. And so I want to say this is the end of our show. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check it out, spanglishworld.ca, for all the news, programming, Spanglish World. You can watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. And thank you so much, Crystal. You were awesome. Thank you,
Thank
thank
you
you,
so
thank
much.
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, stick around here. Stay in the back room, if you will, so I can chat with you. All right, viewers. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you next week.